Phil Woolery here with Purdue Extension. I'm going to be talking about pruning fruit trees, and specifically we're going to talk about peach trees. So why would you want to prune a peach tree? Naturally, a peach tree will want to grow with a nice rounded crown, and we think about what happens there. Where is the light interception? Where are the leaves going to be with getting light? So at the top there. And that's where your fruit production is going to be. So by opening up the crown, we kind of get more fruit production on these branches down here. So we end up with higher quality fruit and more fruit in the spots where we like it. Another reason we open up the crown, like with pruning, to improve air movement, and that will reduce your disease issues in your peaches. So starting out with peach pruning, if you're starting out with a young tree, oftentimes you'll get what we call a whip. So this tree is unbranched and you're going to plant it, and right away that first spring you're going to come and snip off the top of that to about 3 or 4 feet or lower. This one's kind of high, but that's okay. So it could be lower or higher. And what that's going to do is stimulate that tree to put out side branches. So you're going to get a bunch of branches growing out to the side. And then the next year, you're going to thin those out to maybe 3 or 4 of these kind of scaffold branches that are going to be your main kind of support. And from there, you'll cut off the tips of those and stimulate more side branches here. So here we have the main branch coming out here, and we split it into 2, and we split that one and further on that way. And so that builds our structure for the tree for the shape we want it. So another thing we're going to be looking at is these branches that are coming up. Branches that are coming straight up are going to tend to produce a lot of vegetative growth, so a lot of leaves and not flowers. Branches that are going to be a lot more horizontal will have more fruit production. You can see here we've got some flower buds here growing. So we want to balance that, balance the growth. So if we have a lot of leaves up here, not a lot of flower, they're going to be shading out this branch down here, which will have a lot more fruit on it. So removing those will help the tree balance and get more and better quality fruit. So kind of tools you kind of use for this job, got our loppers and also some little hand pruners like this. The other branches you want to take out are branches that are growing down. Some of these are actually dead, but the branches that are growing down and they get kind of in the shade, those branches aren't going to produce a lot of fruit because they're not going to get the sunlight because they're underneath, and and it won't get the sun, won't have the fruit production. So we want to keep these branches going maybe 45 degrees or more. Take the ones that are growing down and take the ones that are going straight up. So on this branch here, we're going to take out some of these ones growing straight up. These out. And we're going to end up with a lot more balanced growth and more growth focused on our fruit production. Another thing you can, with that, there's some buds on there, but a lot of times these peaches are going to produce, if we have a good year, which typically in northern Indiana, it's hit or miss. They'll oftentimes produce more peaches than the tree can handle. So by balancing out some of these flower buds now, we can control our fruit load. So just going around, taking out some of these branches going straight up. Also, you can see this branch here, I don't know, this one's growing into the center. So in fact, this one, well, it's kind of hard to reach. There. One thing here you might want to see, this branch growing up, we might want to take out, but we've got this lateral branch that may or may not be in the branch, so I might leave this one. It might grow into something good here. So I'm going to take off the top and the side here and leave this one that might grow into something good there. So going around taking off some more of this upright growth. And some of the smaller branches that are growing down, like this one here, this one's dead, we take that right off. This one here, it's going to be shaded out. Take that off. These are growing underneath as well. So take on this one growing off, this one's okay. Here we'll take off that one growing in a bad direction. And these are okay here. This one growing straight up. So the thing about peach trees is they're going to only produce fruit on last year's growth. So 1-year-old wood, what we say we're going to have our peaches on. So that's one thing you got to think about when you're doing your pruning. So if you take off all that growth, you're not going to have any peaches that year. So here on this branch, you see I've taken off the lower branch, some of the branches growing down, and I've left the ones that are growing at that angle there. And so we're thinning it out. So another thing you can do is, because like I said that your peaches are born on this year, so next year's fruit crop will depend on this year's growth. So to have more of these lateral branches, you can come and take the tips off of these, and that'll stimulate more side branches growing out. So you have more potential for that next year. This branch here, sometimes they'll get growing upward like this, and what you can do is some of these they'll get bent down here, but this one side branch is growing at a nice angle, so we can take that one out there. Take out some more of these growing like this. So one thing about growing peaches in northern Indiana, they don't like the winters so much. If it gets too cold, those flower buds will get frozen and die. So you might expect a peach crop every other year if you're lucky. So those are some things to think about, but they're nice and they're good addition if you don't mind having to wait a couple years in between crops. So one of the reasons why peach trees often don't do well in our northern Indiana climate is that if we have a real cold winter, the flower buds will often freeze off. So last year in 2019 we had very cold weather, and there's no flowers at all on them. And if you want to inspect your peach tree to see if the flowers are alive, so about this time of year in March, you can go out and check. So if you can see here, we have kind of 3 buds coming here, and there's another one, 3. So the outside 2 are flower buds. And so if you want to, you can kind of pick them off, and look, we've got nice and green inside. We know that flower bud is alive. In my experience, about this time of year, if you go on and just touch some of those flower buds, the ones that are dead, they just fall right off. And so that's a good indication. So know if you're going to have a peach crop this year or not. As you can see, I've finished pruning it. I've taken out the vertical and vertical branches and branches growing down, and thinned it out so the crown is a lot more open. Still might do a little more on some of the tips here. So that's the basics on pruning peach trees. There's a lot of other topics to cover later on with pests, pest diseases, and also fruit thinning. But we'll wait on that. But if you have any other questions, make sure you let me know in the comments below or reach out to me by email and we can get those answered for you. Thanks and have a good day.